What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here to give you my Tampa Bay Buccaneers record prediction for the 2021 NFL season. The Super Bowl champs looking to repeat in 2021, and Tom Brady looking for perfection. Will the Bucs do it? Do they have an opportunity, a chance to do it? In this video, I'll break down their schedule for this season and let you know if they do have a chance for perfection, and let you know if they could put themselves in a good position to repeat in 2021. So before I give you my record prediction for the Bucs this season, make sure that you do spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL record predictions just like this, including the rest of the NFC South and the NFC. Get in that comment section and let me know, Bucs fans, how you feel about Tampa this season. Do you think they're going to go all the way once again? The repeat is on. Run it back, baby. The Tampa Bay Bucs, as we know, will headline the opener of the 2021 NFL season versus the Dallas America's team Cowboys. Dak Prescott back off the injury reserve, ready to go. Ready to take on the champs. This is not great for the Cowboys here, right? I know that you guys are going to be rowdy. It's going to be loud. It's going to be absolutely bonkers in Tampa Bay week 1 on that Thursday nighter to open the season. Tom Brady, the banner, I can see it now. As a Patriots fan, I know it well. I think it's going to be just too much to overcome for Dallas. Now, could their offense move the ball and score some points? Potentially. But Tampa Bay's defense is going to have that continuity, that chemistry, and as a roster, the Bucs brought everyone back, which means they can only add to their early season success. I think they're really going to hit the ground running this season. So I have the Bucs winning this game pretty easily in the opener. Week number 2, they play the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta did give you some issues last year. Both games were competitive, especially the first one, early on especially, where Atlanta was destroying you. Then you made the comeback, classic Atlanta Falcon fashion. They blew the lead. All right, you figured it out a little bit more in the second game. But nonetheless, Atlanta moved the ball. They passed the ball with Matt Ryan and were able to make themselves competitive. So I could see where that may allow them to be competitive in both games this year. I like their new coaching additions. They'll still have some receiving weapons even if they lose Julio Jones. So the games will be close, but I ultimately expect the Bucs to win them. I just think like their defensive line, the Bucs versus the Atlanta offensive line, which I'm very, very sketchy about. I'm not so sure I'm confident in it heading into this year. I think that's the matchup where the Bucs can really take advantage and ultimately make plays. I think Atlanta can move the ball on them, but I think there'll just be moments where big sacks, big strip fumbles, big interceptions caused by the pressure will be too much for Atlanta to overcome. I also look at the Bucs offense just probably doing as they please versus Atlanta this season. Week number 3, they play the Rams. This is one of the toughest matchups you'll see all year. The Rams beat you last year, as we know, on Monday night. That was with Jared Goff, not Matthew Stafford. Now, we may see some Matthew Stafford taking a couple weeks to get going in this offense. I don't expect that to be the case because McVay makes it easy on his quarterback. But this is a marquee matchup for the Rams, and they might not be ready for this marquee matchup so early in the season. I think the Bucs will win this game. I do think it will be a one-possession game, though, especially because the game is in LA. If this game was later in the season, I may lean towards the Rams, but I do think that this matchup we may see again in the playoffs. But for now, I'm going to say the Bucs win it. Week number 4, they play the New England Patriots in New England. This is the return of Tom Brady in New England. This game is going to be real tight. I think it's going to be real physical. I think it's going to be like a rivalry game almost. I think there's going to be a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this game. Both Bill Belichick and Tom Brady desperately want to win this game. I think the Patriots are going to be good this year. As a fan of the team, they've made a lot of improvements, and I do expect them to put up a good fight. But I think at the end of things here, the Bucs Tom Brady is not going to go to New England, where it may even be a home-like atmosphere for him, and lose. Like, just the competitor, I don't see it happening. And he is ultimately the guy on the field. Belichick is only the coach. So I think while the Patriots will make it interesting, I think the Bucs should come out with the win in this game. Week 5, the Dolphins at the Buccaneers. This one is going to be interesting because the Patriots and the Dolphins play very similar type of defensive schemes, right? Belichick, Flores is from the Belichick tree. They both have strong secondaries. So the Bucs are going to have a test 3 weeks in a row versus quality defenses and quality secondaries, where they may have to really rely on other aspects of their team, specifically their defense, to come out on top, especially in the Patriots and Dolphins games. And I think that's what's going to happen both weeks, where they get a well-rounded performance from their defense, from their running game, from other aspects not named Tom Brady, to ultimately get these victories. I think the decision here for week 5 versus the Dolphins is the defense of the Bucs will win this game. I think putting pressure on Tua will be big, and they'll win it. Week 6, they play the Eagles on Thursday. This could be potentially a slip-up game, you know, looking ahead down the road, or just kind of overlooking the Eagles because they're not a very good team, and I don't expect them to be very good. But it's on Thursday night. It's a short week. You're coming off an emotional couple of weeks. You know, you've played the Rams on Sunday. Is it a night game, or at least it's a marquee game? They play the Patriots in a marquee game, and then they play the Dolphins, and then they're going Thursday versus the Eagles, which is the worst team they've played all season, in my opinion. And that could be where they slip up and maybe drop one where they just play poorly. Like, I could see that happening, but I just think they're too talented here. I don't think the Eagles match up too bad with the Bucs. Like, their offensive and defensive lines are strong enough to the point where they won't get overwhelmed by the Bucs. But I don't think that the quarterback play is there for the Eagles passing-wise on a consistent basis. And they don't have the receivers to really take advantage of the Bucs' biggest weakness. So I think the Bucs will win this game, but I don't expect, I could see it being like a slip-up game. Week 7, the Bears, they want revenge from last year. Tom Brady, he had himself memed with the 4 downs thing consistently, you know, for the first few weeks of the season. That was a big deal. And I don't think he's going to take that lightly. I think the Bucs were embarrassed by that loss last year. This time it's at home, and I expect them to win this game big. Week 8, they play the Saints in New Orleans. I think this is where their first loss comes. Now, I will say this, okay? All that talk about undefeated, right? They could go undefeated. I have no question about it. I mean, you look at this schedule, and I'm already going through. Some of their most difficult matchups are in the first 4 weeks of the season. The Cowboys, the Rams, the Patriots are 3 of their toughest matchups all year long, right? Especially the Rams and the Patriots in their building. If they're able to escape that, they very well could go on a run undefeated. I'm not even going to joke around with you. But I do expect the Saints to beat them in one game this year because they outcoached the Bucs in all 3 games. All 3 games last year by a wide margin. They lost the playoff game because the Bucs were just, they showed their talent, and Tom Brady was by far the better quarterback in that game. So that's why they won. But I do think Jameis Winston, there's a revenge factor there, and that will come into account as well. So I think the Saints in New Orleans will beat the Bucs this year, and that's where they'll get one of the losses. All right, so then they have a bye week. They have time to regroup. Because they lost before the bye week, I think it's very likely they come back remotivated and they beat the football team in week 10. I think the football team, as talented as they are, and a lot of people look at them as a prime candidate to win the East again, I don't think they're a good matchup for the Bucs. Just like we saw in the playoffs, I just don't think so. I wouldn't rule out, that's, you know, you're on the road, it's tough, but after a bye week, I expect the Bucs to come out firing. Now, week 11, Monday Night Football, they play the Giants. They played the Giants on Monday Night Football last year in New York, and they nearly lost. This year, I think they actually do lose this game. There's something about the Giants where I feel like they're a weird matchup for the Bucs, and I'll explain it. So I feel like the Giants Not saying that the Giants would beat them in the playoffs, but I'm sure the game would be close. Here's the thing. The Giants are one of the very few teams who have a weird mix on their roster that could make things challenging for the Bucs. So for one, they have a coach who's familiar with Tom Brady in Joe Judge. They have a defensive coach who's familiar with Tom Brady in Patrick Graham. They have a secondary who's talented enough to match up with the Bucs receivers. Very few teams have that. They have a defensive line that's big enough and strong enough to not get overwhelmed by the Bucs running game or offensive line, making the matchup for the Bucs offense overall pretty challenging. They then have a defense, or an offense I should say, with a quarterback who's very wild card. All right, he can play out of his mind, but he can also play awful. So we're going to get one or the other from Daniel Jones. But when he plays really well, he makes a lot of big time throws down the field, right? And there was even in that game last year where he missed a couple big throws that could have won them the game. This year they have some receivers who will really challenge the Bucs secondary. Saquon is a threat in the backfield that you have to be aware of. So I think the Giants could upset the Bucs. I'm going to say it's going to be like 27-24. They beat the Bucs in a stunner. All right, I think the Bucs rebound, though, in Week 12 versus the Colts. I don't think the Colts are a very good matchup for Tampa Bay in terms of I don't think the Colts could really line up and beat the Bucs. Just what the Colts like to do on defense and offense doesn't match up well with what the Bucs are good at. I think the Colts are a run-first team, which that's not a good matchup versus the Bucs, right? And then the other side of the football, that simplistic style of defense where it's kind of more vanilla style where you're just focused on execution, that doesn't really work versus Tom Brady. It just doesn't work because he's too smart, and when you give him the same coverages over and over again, he will decipher them and he will destroy you. So I don't think that's a good matchup. Week 13, we have them beating the Atlanta Falcons. Week 14, maybe the biggest game all year for the Bucs. They play the Bills at home. The Bills are expected to be a very good team again, but I expect it to be Tampa. Big reason, they're at home. The Bills have to go to a warm climate later in the year to Tampa Bay. I think the Bucs win this game based on the line of scrimmage, where I think they can run the ball on the Buffalo Bills. I think they can get after Allen. I think they don't have to worry about the run game and similarly to the Chiefs. I think this will look a lot like the Chiefs Super Bowl, maybe a little bit closer, but I have that kind of feeling about the game. Week 15, they play the Saints again. They're going to want to win that game. They will get their revenge. Week 16, they play the Panthers for the first time all year, which is absolutely insane. They don't play the Carolina Panthers in their division till Week 16. They may very well not even play the Panthers at all because they might be sitting players by this time in Week 16, honestly. Depending on if they're undefeated or not or only have one loss, because I think the NFC is rather weak, and I don't see any other team being close to Tampa in terms of getting this number one seed. So the Bucs, I think they'll beat the Panthers. Week 17, they play the Jets. I think they'll beat the Jets. They're just way better than the Jets. And then Week 18, they play at home versus Carolina to finish the season off, and I believe they will win this game. I don't know if they'll be actually playing players or not, but I'm just going to say that they do and end up winning the game. So right now I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going 15-2. I think they're going to be a better team than last year in the regular season. Now we'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I think their coaching will adjust this offseason to things they did well and things they did poorly, and that will only expand on their strengths, all right? I think Tom Brady being with this team for another year makes them a lot smarter. I think their biggest problem last year was their intelligence from a game preparation standpoint. That's where they really sucked, in my opinion. It wasn't the talent, it was the game plan, it was Brady picking up the offense, it was the inconsistencies of knowing what you are as an identity. And I think they'll have that down pat. So I have the Bucs being the best team in the NFL this year during the regular season and getting the number one seed in the NFC. Let me know in the comment section how you feel. Do you feel the same way? Do you think they can make it back to the Super Bowl and win it? Do you think they can go undefeated? Let me know in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the playlist. Gronk, spike that like button. Peace.